Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Digital Workflow Cafe webinar series brought to you by SymphonyAI. We're here today to talk about adopting AI in service management. Now, a study by McKinsey Research estimates that generative AI could add between 2.6 and $4.4 trillion of value annually. And by 2025, which is next year, Gartner predicts that 80% of conversational AI offerings will incorporate generative AI, which is a significant jump from just 20% last year in 2023. Now, in this edition, we're going to dive deep into the world of AI adoption in service management, and we've got a special guest with us today, Mann from ITSM Tools. Stephen's practically a household name in the ITSM domain at this point. Just to briefly talk about Stephen, he's a principal and content director at the ITSM-focused industry analyst firm, ITSM Tools. Stephen writes and talks about the challenges and opportunities for IT service management professionals. As Stephen previously held positions in IT research and analysis at IT industry analyst firms Ovum and Forrester and the UK Post Office. Welcome, Stephen. It's great to have you here at the Workflow Cafe webinar.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. So, Stephen, let's start by getting a pulse on the current state of AI adoption in IT service management. Have you noticed any particular industries or company sizes leading the charge when it comes to embracing generative AI in ITSM?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth giving a bit of history as well. That I remember first talking about AI at an ITSM conference in 2016. So it sort of feels as though it's been a while coming. And we also run an annual poll about the content our readers want to get. And I think we only started them at the end of 2017. So it was for the 2018 year. And AI was the second highest subject area way back in 2018. It dipped, it then came back, it dipped again, and now in 2024 it's the number one topic area. So people really want to know more about how to adopt AI. I guess you could argue that people were interested in it. They wanted to know the art of the AI possible, and now it's a case of, well, okay, how do I use this stuff? So in terms of where we are in adoption, again, pulling some of our data from around about 6 months ago, it's 36% of respondents said that they were using corporately provided AI capabilities in their organization. But rather interestingly, 67% were using free tools. So you've got something that we could go down into a rabbit hole with there. So I'm not going to talk about that anymore, but it's interesting to see the difference there. And also we need to point out that we need to be careful when we survey on AI, because are people responding based on a bespoke AI project, or are they referring to let's call it an off-the-shelf application, the IT service management tool that is brought on board AI capabilities? So I think we're finally moving, and if you actually look at where we're moving, technology industry, obviously people putting AI into their software capabilities, but then you can look at financial services and banking, retail, healthcare. They're probably the industries that we're seeing most adoption in. And one other point that's worth making here actually is the size of the organization. If you're as old as I am, you remember the ITSM trends used to trickle down from the largest organizations to the mid-market to the smaller organizations. But what we've seen with both enterprise service management and experience management is, I guess, a double prong attack, where larger enterprises and SMBs or SMEs, whatever you wish to call them, they seem to be ahead of the mid-market organizations. And I can see no reason why the same wouldn't be true for AI adoption too.
Very interesting. So, Stephen, I know AI, it's interesting you mentioned that, 2018, back in 2018, everyone's talking about it. And I've, in my experience too, I've seen AI has been a buzzword in the industry for a very, very long time. And only just recently, it seems like it's actually starting to take shape. What do you think are some factors that are kind of preventing companies from adopting AI, specifically to IT service management, but just in general? What's preventing companies from doing that?
Yeah, and again, we've got some data, and I love data, so I really should have apologized in advance that, I can talk about these things, but I think if you put numbers to it,
Sure.
I think it becomes a little bit more real. So in terms of the top 3 or 4, lack of skilled people is normally the number one barrier to adopting AI-based capabilities. You then get into the realms of cost or competing priorities for resources. What we've already got by way of IT infrastructure and applications as well. So whether you want to call it legacy IT or something else, is up there in the top 4 as well. And then employee resistance to change. I think we're foolish to ignore that. No matter what we do in IT, if we're introducing new technology, if we're not using organizational change management to help people buy into and ultimately make a success of the new technology, then we're going to struggle. But also in terms of generative AI, so more recently those challenges are morphing a little bit, and it's interesting your point about remember in 2018, and then all of a sudden, everyone's on board the AI train. The media hype that it got last year, and the fact that we as individuals outside of work went to have a play with ChatGPT or something else, for me, it's made us more interested. It's also elevated it to board level interest too, which is, you can't say that about a lot of IT areas really. Digital transformation did it, but I think now ChatGPT has helped to elevate generative AI into board level discussions. So if we look at generative AI, data security, particularly some of the boo-boos that people have made when using the free AI tools, and also depending on your level of specialism, I use ChatGPT sometimes to look at IT service management, and the stuff that comes back, I'm like, yeah, I can see why people would worry about the level of accuracy or the level of inaccuracy, and ultimately we don't want to be making decisions based on either out of date information or misinformed information.
Yep, very good point. Well, Stephen, you mentioned that you love data. I also love data. I think that seeing kind of numbers put to these things, resonates. I think ITSM Tools has done maybe a recent study on AI usage and improving well-being. Is that something you could maybe give us a sneak peek into some of the numbers that you're seeing there?
Yeah, sure. Just a little bit of background. We first did a well-being survey in 2019, and then the global pandemic hit, and we thought we would better run it again. And then we ran it again. So we ran it in 2020, then we ran it in 2022. So as we approached the 2024 version, it was a case of, I was reminding of, somebody asked me and they said, do you have any data on how AI is affecting well-being? And I said, no, because I've never asked the question. So the survey's still open. So take what I'm saying with an even larger pinch of salt than we normally take. So, the numbers will probably move. But what we wanted to do was to get a feel for the potential impact AI is having on well-being. And of course, people are probably shouting at the screens at the moment. There are so many things inside the workplace that are going to affect our well-being. It's also going to be coupled with things outside the workplace that are going to affect us individuals. But for me, it was interesting that when we asked about whether using AI, and we said, it could be corporate AI or personal AI, has it had any effect on your well-being? And it was 25% the survey respondents said that they thought it was improving their well-being. So it was helping them in the workplace. 67% there was no impact or no noticeable impact, and only 9% said that it was adversely affecting the well-being. We don't have any granular insight or detail on this, but I would bet quite a large part of my mortgage that the 9% probably is thinking along the lines of the AI taking away roles, or positions, rather than it being something that has made their work life harder. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So what are some things, maybe, obviously, we're seeing some people saying that it's helping, it's improving their well-being in the workplace. What are some things, that you would consider some, I guess, basic, Gen AI use cases that companies should consider, testing if they're kind of stepping in that realm. What should they test when they're doing it?
Okay, well, we see three top use cases when we run surveys and when we've run surveys over the years related to AI or intelligent automation. And the one that tends to come out top is intelligent workflow automation. So automated triage for incident or service request tickets. And then you've got in second and third place, whether you want to call them virtual assistants or virtual agents or chatbots or something else, people use different terminology all the time. So you've got the two scenarios. The one that tends to come second is providing the chatbot for employees. So we're probably the cobbler's children again. We know we're looking after everyone else before we look after ourselves. And then third, the virtual assistants for staff. So we're augmenting our staff, their knowledge, their skills with AI capabilities, perhaps through copilots or something similar. And a lot of IT service management tools have these capabilities already, or at least the emergence of these capabilities. In that, another data point that's worth throwing out, again, this is from 6 months ago, that through our survey, we reckon around about just less than 3/4 of IT service management tools have some form of capability. We don't know what that is. We don't know how good it is. We don't know if people are using it, but we just wanted to get a feel for how it's coming. So it is definitely coming. But there are other opportunities too. So those three that I mentioned, problem management is another good one, in terms of identifying the recurring issues or patterns and ultimately hopefully being able to predict issues before they occur. Change enablement, you can use it for impact and risk assessments. Knowledge management is another one that gets spoken about a lot, but I think a lot of organizations are still a little bit wary of knowledge management. It seems to be one of the core ITSM capabilities that organizations really struggle with. And then you can get into the whole world of analytics and reporting, whether it's to do with monitoring service levels or analyzing customer feedback with sentiment analysis, or even just trying to identify areas for improvement. And there's an awful lot of potential out there.
Yep. Yeah, we definitely are seeing that, in the industry of, leveraging those capabilities and augmenting what you can do. So definitely don't think it's too scary for people. They shouldn't be scared of it. So I guess really last on the list here, just to kind of wrap up, is what tips do you have, I guess, for service desk leaders if they're trying to make a case for AI, specifically when they're trying to make a case for investing in AI around ITSM and other areas. What are some tips that you would give them to help them make that case?
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes I feel as though I'm stating the obvious, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway.
Yep.
The main thing for me is to focus on the business need, not the technology. We can't help it. We work in technology, we get excited about technology, but we really do need to understand, what's behind the screen. How are we going to impact the business or the organization positively? And for me, employee experience data can help a lot with that. I think one of the things I've already mentioned as well, that we need to elevate the push for AI adoption from IT to the C-level. Hopefully ChatGPT has helped us in that regard, the media attention. And ultimately, when we talk about the benefits of AI, we need to align them up with business priorities, whether we're talking about efficiency or productivity. experiences, scalability, growth, something else. There's just so many things. And I guess it comes back to the first point and also the second point. We just need to elevate the conversation and ultimately the business case beyond the technology. It's a means to an end. It's a very clever and valuable means to an end, but we need to be focused on the right things. And it's probably worth me throwing a question back to you, Jason. Focusing on what the right things, and you're going to be far closer to customers than I am. So, I'd love to hear a bit more about what SymphonyAI has been doing to meet those customer needs in terms of adding generative AI capabilities to the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I meet with customers daily, talking through generative AI use cases, in ITSM. This is a good time just to kind of give you an idea of SymphonyAI as a whole, what we are. So let me, actually, I'm going to pull up a quick slide deck here. Yeah, so SymphonyAI, just as a company, we've got multiple different divisions between retail, CPG, financial services, some industrial, and business IT, which is your IT service management, portion. As a company, we're kind of a leader in generative AI and predictive AI. We have a lot of patents when it comes to AI and a lot of big companies underneath our umbrella. So we're trying to differentiate ourselves as an AI first company. So just a list of some of the customers that we service over our different business units here. Specifically the business IT unit, so the ITSM space. A lot of awards and recognition when it comes to ITSM. Very diverse customer base, some of the biggest logos in the industry here. Again, multiple recognitions from Gartner Peer Insights, being on the quadrant as well, an honorable mention in Gartner's quadrant before they retired that. And some priorities that we're seeing from CIOs. So going back to what we were talking about as far as getting people to adopt this and how they can make their case for it. We're seeing AI and machine learning being one of the top technologies that are likely to be implemented by the year 2026. And I imagine that's probably going to be closer than 2026. We're going to start seeing that in the industry. So as far as what we have to offer, so we do have an enterprise service management platform. So it can support all of your different support, organizations within your organization. So your IT support, HR, facilities, with multiple systems of engagement. So meeting the customer where they are. Intelligence with intent identification, classification, automation in there as well. So the solution stack that you see here is the service management, your enterprise service management, which again, as I mentioned, IT, HR. We have asset management, the service automation, and then the generative AI copilot. So we'll spend more time talking about that copilot. It is a multi-tenant architecture internally. It is a single tenant SaaS, but the multi-tenant architecture is, again, the IT HR facilities, being able to support that, and a no code, low code platform. The IT service management, enterprise service management, this is just kind of giving you an idea of all the different components that go into those different modules that we would support. And again, generative AI is what we're here for. So that's the big one, using advanced natural language understanding, intelligence, live agent transfer, conversational studio, all of those things to support that copilot experience. Now, one of the things that we're seeing and key capabilities of generative AI and how it's going to transform the enterprise journey, empowering users, 24/7 virtual agent. That's thinking about other people and not before we think about ourselves. So meeting them with that virtual agent capability, and then optimizing ourselves as well. So with the streamlined workflows, optimizing knowledge base, uh, trend analysis, things like that that we'll leverage with that experience. And that's where that Copilot comes into play. So with our generative AI Copilot, we're offering multiple Copilot experiences. Um, we want to see faster resolution, self-service, 24/7 availability, improving productivity by our agents. That Copilot for the end user is allowing them to self-serve, giving them what they need. So leveraging all of the different technologies that you might have in your organization. So not just from a service management standpoint, but like going beyond service management into your HR systems, your employee handbook, your SharePoint site, or other document portals that you might have. Being able to leverage those that source of record and being able to provide those answers to the users, so a one-stop shop for them. And then analysts being able to assist them in solving issues, prioritizing their work, getting that feedback of like, give me a summary of what this ticket's about, something like that will provide them the responses that they need, and again, assist them in getting the work done quicker. And then from a leadership standpoint, all of that data, again, we mentioned earlier, Stephen, we both love data. So being able to take that data, but how are you reading that data? And the Copilot being able to take that data and read the data for you and provide insights into patterns or trends that might be going on within your organization, proactively being able to provide that trend analysis, give you let you know when the problems, maybe there's going to be a problem based on the types of tickets coming in, being able to predict that, and just providing those operational insights for leadership through a Copilot experience that's not requiring them to analyze themselves. They're using the generative AI component to get that feedback. So. And then just give you an idea, again, some numbers that we are seeing of 65% automation of service requests using our service automation engine, 50% faster resolution of service requests using that service desk intelligence, the Copilot, reduction in hardware and software inventory costs with enterprise asset management, increased efficiency, 360-degree views with intuitive dashboards, and then just our system in general, 90 days rapid implementation. So faster time to value with the ITSM enterprise service management solutions, so that you're getting that value out of it quicker. So that's really what SymphonyAI has to offer when it comes to the generative AI and just our components in general. So,
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stephen, we've been here for a while, so we're gonna wrap this up. But one, I really appreciate you joining us for this workflow webinar. For ITSM professionals really that are just starting out, or those that's already taken the plunge, what would you advise them in terms of getting started or mapping out their AI journey?
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a few things. As you probably noticed, I tend to waffle a bit. The first thing for me is, people have to realize that AI adoption is going to be inevitable. It's going to happen whether people want to introduce it into their ITSM capabilities or not. It's going to be in ITSM tools. You may or may not use it, but if you don't use that, I think you're really going to struggle, or you're going to miss out on a large number of opportunities. I think it's worth repeating what I said about making it a business, not an IT journey, and that getting the C-level buy-in, and also aligning with the business priorities is probably going to be critical success. A third thing, I think it's important to avoid looking at AI in isolation. I can talk for hours about ITSM trends and how we tend to focus on one, then another, then another, then another, and we can miss the bigger picture. And I think it's important to connect what we're doing with AI with other IT service management inputs and trends. Starting with people going through processes, technology, enterprise service management, digital transformation, or digital enablement, as we tend to call it now, and all of it with a focus on value and experience. So all these things need to be connected or knitted together. And then finally, I think it's important for people to start now. It doesn't matter whether it's large or small, but if you haven't already started with AI, for me, I think given the speed of advancement that we saw in 2023, it's going to be a really hard area to play catch up on if you've not already got some skin in the game.
Really great point, Stephen. Stephen, I really appreciate you joining us for this webinar today. Very insightful information. If anyone's looking for additional information, you can check out SymphonyAI's website, request a demo of the tools. Copilot is a big thing for us, not just in business IT, but financial crime and risk. So we're seeing that again in multiple different verticals here. So again, Stephen, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks.